having a consistent guy that is a possession receiver, is a safety valve, doesn't drop the football is massive for a development standpoint of your quarterback, is massive for a confidence standpoint of your quarterback. And I know from a fan perspective, it just gets frustrating too. But having a guy like that with a career 2.5% drop rate is something that I really look forward to having. And I'm sure a lot of you will too. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Road to Happy Valley. I'm your host, Noah Malone. So today I want to do another player breakdown. This time it's going to be on wide receiver Kyron Hudson. Kyron committed to Penn State through the transfer portal. He played at USC his first few years in college, and now he's joined the Nittany Lions. So I want to come on here and talk to you guys kind of about what I saw when I watched his film and who I think his NFL player comp is. So just for starters, some background. He's 6'1", 205. I think he plays a lot bigger than that and is more of a possession style receiver, not necessarily a deep threat burner type guy like Devontae Ross. 2024 stats, not as decorated as Devontae, but something to keep in mind is that USC did switch quarterbacks towards the end of the season, so building that chemistry with a new guy is always going to be something that's tough, right? No matter where you're at. 2024, he had 38 catches, 462 yards, 3 touchdowns. His biggest games came against Maryland for 4 catches, 41 yards, and a touchdown. UCLA, 6 catches, 79 yards. And then, of course, against Penn State, he had 4 catches, 36 yards, and a touchdown. Like I said, I wouldn't look too much into it as far as his numbers go. Having a new quarterback and just USC as a whole, some issues over there. New quarterback towards the end of the season. I wouldn't worry too much about it. All right, on to the film breakdown and what I saw when I watched him play. From what I saw, it seemed like he lined up on the outside of the field a good amount and was usually the single receiver on his side. There is instances, obviously, where there's another guy or two where he's at, but I would say majority of the time he was lining up by himself on the single side. Something to keep in mind is I know that Devontae Ross was lining up a lot on his own side of the field. He was the single guy, like 78%, I think it was, when he was at Troy. I'll be really interested to see how this ends up playing out because obviously Penn State's going to run more than just 2 wide receiver sets. So at some point there's going to be situations where both of those guys will probably end up not being the single side outside receiver. I think that a lot of the Kyron Hudson routes, not a lot, but more so than Devontae Ross, Kyron Hudson was ending up in the middle of the field. And one thing that was refreshing to see was that he invited contact. He was all right with getting hit. He seems like he can be that guy that is going to make his money in the middle of the field. But I do think it'll be really interesting to see how Andy Kotelnicki works both of these guys into the offense, with both of them being very heavy outside options. Another thing that I saw was that he was very good against zone defenses. From what it seemed, it felt like a lot of the times he was finding the soft spots, and it seemed like he had a really good feel for where he was at on the field, whether that be, like I said, in a zone, finding where corners and where linebackers weren't at. I also noticed a lot that on third downs, it seemed like he was getting targeted, which I think that's something very important for this Penn State offense and for Drew Aller, because obviously that guy on third down was Ty Warren, and now with him gone, who's going to be the guy in this offense that steps up at the wide receiver position or tight end position that is going to be that reliable third down option, is going to be that safety valve, is going to be that guy that Drew Aller can say, oh, all right, I feel good throwing this guy the football. And I think that has a really good chance of being Kyron Hudson in this situation. One of the two biggest parts for me that I was a huge fan of when I was watching Kyron was first, he just doesn't drop the football. Career drop rate of 2.5%, which is better than anybody with 100 targets, 100 receptions in the James Franklin era. So that's massive. Obviously, we know that there's been drops in the past with the wide receiver position, but having a consistent guy that is a possession receiver, is a safety valve, doesn't drop the football is massive for a development standpoint of your quarterback, is massive for a confidence standpoint of your quarterback. And I know from a fan perspective, it just gets frustrating too. But having a guy like that with a career 2.5% drop rate is something that I really look forward to having. And I'm sure a lot of you will too. Another thing to highlight, this isn't necessarily the other thing that I was referring to, but he had 12 contested catches this season, according to PFF, which is one more than Ty Warren. And it felt like Ty Warren was making every single contested catch under the sun last season. So bringing in a guy like that doesn't drop passes, that can make contested catches. I mean, I probably should have started with this, but Kyron Hudson was the guy against USC against LSU, at the beginning of the season that made that one-handed circus catch with two guys draped all over him. So bringing in a guy that doesn't drop the football, a guy that makes those contested catches, huge catch radius, is just can be life-changing for an offense. The other thing that I think is super important too is that he's a very willing run blocker. Penn State, obviously great offensive line, great running backs, really like to run the football. It makes those guys' lives so much easier when you have wide receivers on the edge that are willing to go out there and make a block. And I think that just is something to really take into consideration. And I think that is awesome that he has that ability, because I think that Penn State is probably a run-first offense, and I'm sure that a lot of you would agree with me there. So you bring in a guy that isn't afraid to get his hands dirty, that's going to go out there, that's going to block, that's going to move people around at the wide receiver position. I think that's really all you can ask for, right? All right. On to my NFL player comp. I think that Kyron Hudson has a similar game to Michael Gallup. I think they're similar in stature. Gallup was 6'1", 198. I think Kyron has a couple pounds on him, but not that much difference from person to person size. Neither one of these guys is necessarily a burner, but more of an undersized possession type receiver. Saw a lot of film of Michael Gallup, and yes, being an Eagles fan, he did cause some nightmares for me. But watching a lot of film of Michael Gallup, it seemed like Dak felt really comfortable throwing the deep ball to him, and he was going to go up there and make a play with a corner covering him. It wasn't like Michael Gallup was burning these guys deep, but he was still getting himself in the right spot to go up there and make a contested catch. I think that's really similar to Kyron Hudson. It felt like a lot of these guys were running some of the similar routes, slants, hitches, the jump ball down the field. That's what I saw a lot of when I watched Michael Gallup. That's what I saw a lot of when I watched Kyron Hudson. And then the most important thing is extremely low drop rate for both of these guys, right? Michael Gallup had one season of 11 drops, but other than that, he's had 6 or less. And Kyron Hudson, like I said, coming in here with a career 2.5% drop rate is spectacular. So I think that's a pretty good comparison. I'd be really interested to see what everybody else thinks if you guys get a chance to watch film on both of those guys. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what Kyron Hudson can bring into this offense. I know that Penn State necessarily hasn't had the best success when it comes to transfer portal wide receivers, but I think Kotelnicki is going to do a great job working him and Devontae Ross into this offense. I think that Drew Aller and him have a great opportunity to build that chemistry. And I think that Kyron Hudson has a great opportunity to be a crucial part of a lot of the success in the passing game and running game when he gets to Penn State and when we get to see him suited up in the fall. So really looking forward to this guy. I think he's going to be pretty good for Penn State. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. I enjoy doing these. I want to keep doing them. I'm going to see what else I can get into as far as figuring out player comps for some of the Penn Staters. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. That does it for today. We are.